right. It's all about women's suffrage. So give it up, guys, for more music.
The fight for the right. I have come back to let you know of some occurrences that happened well over 100 years ago for women's suffrage. Oops, not the right button. Not the right button. There we go. So, first let me tell you about the 14th Amendment. That was for stating what a citizen was and who could vote. It was a white male. The 15th Amendment said that now black men could vote. Now in 1871, a woman by the name of Victoria Woodhull, she was the first woman to ever address the Judiciary Committee and fight for our rights, fight that women are citizens, so we should have the right to vote. The following year, she was the very first woman to actually run for the President of the United States. But because she was a woman, they didn't even count her votes. Some women did show up to vote, however. They were either arrested or turned away. Now, in the mid-1800s, if you were a wealthy woman, you refused to marry. Why? Because if you married, your husband now owned all your property and all of your money. So women wised up and they refused to marry. However, we did have 3 states that actually did pass some laws for women to actually hold on to their money and their property. Now here we are in 1876. America is now 100 years old. They're going to have a big celebration at Independence Hall. So the Women's Suffrage Association wrote letters way in advance to the committee and asked for a spot on the stage so they could read their Declaration of Rights of Women and then pass it along to the Vice President of the United States. They said no. But we will give you tickets so you can sit in the audience and watch. Well, in the middle of the ceremony, Susan B. Anthony and Matilda Gage, she got up out of their chair. They marched right up onto the stage. Other women were following them. And they read the Declaration of Rights for Women, and then they handed it to the Vice President. And they went back and sat down. The press was there, so this really helped our cause. So in 1878, we actually were able to propose it to Congress. It took 9 years for the Senate to look at it, and they said no. Imagine that. So, 1890, our progressive era, we had 2 different women associations. We merged into one. It was now called the National American Women's Suffrage Association. We decided to go state by state to get our votes cast. So, Wyoming was the very first state to actually adopt women's suffrage. And as you can see, other states followed. We were so excited in 1916, we had the first elected woman to the House of Representatives, Miss Rankin from Montana. We were on a roll. Now in 1917, we had 2 more states adopt women's suffrage, which was Arkansas, my state, and also New York. Now, also this lady, Alice Paul, she was a very bright woman. She also had a PhD. She didn't want to go state to state. She wanted to go and lobby Congress. So what did she do? She picketed almost every day out in front of the White House. These women were all arrested. They were sentenced to 6 months in jail. Why? Because they blocked sidewalk traffic. But because Alice was the leader, they put her in solitary confinement. They put her in a mental ward in the prison. They were trying to break her. They were trying to undermine her credentials. These women all went on a hunger strike. There was such an outcry from the U.S. people that the government said, okay, we will release them, we will drop all charges. So 1918 was a very important year. We had 3 more states that came on and joined us with women's suffrage. Miss Rankin, now she opened the debate on suffrage. It passed in her house, but when it went to the Senate, once again, it was defeated. But this was midterm elections. Now it went from a Democratic Senate to a Republican Senate, and they were on our side. So in 1919, the 19th Amendment was finally passed. Now it has to go on for ratification. So, unfortunately, this young man, Harry, he told his colleagues, I'm not voting for it. Well, his mother caught wind of that and wrote him a letter. And she said, I am for women's suffrage. And I quote, be a good boy. Well, thank God he was only 22 years old, the youngest ever elected to Congress. He listened to his mama. So on August 26, 1920, women finally had the right to vote. The 19th Amendment was passed. But if you lived in Texas or California or New Mexico, you had to speak English in order to vote. Also, the Native American women were not allowed to vote until 1924. Asian women were not allowed to vote until the 1950s. And finally, in 1965, black men and black women were finally able to vote. We have been fighting this fight since 1840. We have been fighting this for over 120 years for everyone to have the right to vote. So remember, it's your responsibility. You have the right to vote, and it's your voice. Now, I want to leave you with a quote from Miss Matilda Gage. There is one word sweeter than mother, than house, or than heaven. That one word is liberty.
Hi everybody, this is our GoFundMe link for Country Code of Ghana, which is really going fantastic. We're only raising a small amount of the funds to assist, but being invited on to help produce and assistant direct, and now we have a couple of 3 Australians involved helping out, Sarah and Karina, so it's amazing, and Cameron Hood, who's offered to direct. So look, any help you can give, you know, $5, we're not asking for huge amounts, so we appreciate it, and so does Country Code of Ghana, to get this story out and share about women's stories in the workplace and harassment. So thank you, and thank you for whatever you can do.